Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Aimee here. Today we're going to talk about my March TBR, even though we are already in the middle of March. Sorry. Now, I have already read 2 books so far in the month of March. I know that's not a lot. I attempted 3. We'll talk about that in my wrap up. But anyway, let me show you the books that I have planned for the month of March. I chose 8 books for myself. I haven't done a TBR in a while, and I feel like maybe that'll help me get through my TBR shelf back here and just help me just read more during the month, because I've come to find that I can't decide what I want to read or what mood I'm in. So I'm like, you know what, we're gonna go back to doing TBRs. So I chose 8 books for myself. I'll start off with The Last Invitation by Darby Kane. I did already read this. So in this book we do follow a group of women. In this one we follow a woman named Gabby. We also follow Jessa. Gabby and Jessa used to be college friends. They have a bit of a past. Jessa is a lawyer. Gabby was studying to be a lawyer, but she married and decided to devote her time to her family. Her ex-husband is killed right in the beginning of this book. We also follow a group of women that call themselves the Foundation. And after Gabby's ex-husband is murdered, she just sort of dives into finding out what could have possibly happened to her husband that someone would want to murder him but yet make it look like a suicide. So that's kind of the gist of the story. I also chose a book of the month. I chose Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This is another one that I just read. I actually just finished reading it yesterday. We have an author, Grady Green, whose wife Abby disappears right at the beginning of the book. He's on the phone with her. He's waiting for the call from his agent to let him know whether his book is the bestseller. She calls on the phone and tells him she's almost there. Something happens and she goes missing. I also, this is very random. This is Everdark. This is part of the Vampire King Awakens series. I'm not sure how many books are in here, and I am not sure what made me decide to not only purchase this book for 99 cents on Kindle Unlimited, but why would I want to read this? I don't know. I don't know. It's sort of fantasy slash, maybe it's like going crazy over here. It's a vampire fantasy series. So I don't know. It kind of was giving me nostalgia vibes, you know, Edward. I don't know what I was feeling when I decided that I wanted to attempt to read this book. Anyway, in this book, Everdark, we have 2 guys. This is also a male fantasy vampire series. So we have 2 best friends that have like this YouTube channel where, you know, where they go to like, or they talk about haunted locations, or they go to haunted locations. And one of the guys has a history with the vampire. He thinks, he's determined that his parents were killed by one of the vampires that is in this place called Everdark. That's sort of like another dimension kind of thing, and they are looking for basically the portal to Everdark, and they are going to try to get in there and show to the world that vampires do exist. So yeah, that's the gist of Everdark. What made me want to read this month, I have no idea, but we'll talk about it in my wrap up. And of course, I chose some books off of my TBR shelf because I really, really want to get through these books in 2025. When I first started my... That was Miss Ellie. All the kitties are here. As I was saying, I'd really like to get through this TBR shelf for the year, for 2025, as well as do better buying books to go on that said shelf. Buy books that I really want to read. I have books on there that I don't know if I really want to read those books. So we're gonna do this journey this year where I choose the books and I try to read them, but I'm not gonna make myself read them. If I have to DNF, I have to DNF. But anyway, we have The Dreamers by Karen Thompson Walker, sorry. This is about a group of students, it looks like, in an isolated college town of Southern California. First year students stumble into their, we're having a little playtime over here. If you hear some distraction in this area, that's just the kitties having some playtime. So we basically have students that just start falling asleep and don't wake up, but they're in like this dreamlike state. I don't know, it does sound really interesting and really good, and I'm kind of interested to see what it's all about. So we're gonna give it a go for the month of March. Also, this book, I think I talked about this book, I don't know if it was last, no, it must have been like year before last. I think it was right when it was released. I talked about that, you know, this possibly sounded like something I would want to read. This is All Eyes on Her by L.E. Flynn. This is a young adult thriller. And I think what made me interested in this book is that we follow the point of view of the killer, the murderer. Am I thinking of that correctly? Oh no, it says, this is told from the perspective of everyone but Tabby or herself. So we have a boy and a girl. I'm guessing Tabby is the girl's name. Looks like maybe Mark was the boy's name. They go into the woods with a picnic basket. The boy is wearing bright yellow running shoes. The girl found her way out, but the boy never did. And the story unfolds coming from the perspective of everyone else but Tabby. And it looks like it has like some news articles in here. So this does sound really interesting. It's been sitting on my shelf a while, so we're gonna give it a go. And then another book off my TBR shelf. This is The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon. Again, been on my shelf for a couple of years now. When did this come out? But I know it was a book I talked about and I was interested in reading. 2021, goodness. It says this is about a woman who returns to the old family home after her sister mysteriously drowns in its swimming pool. But she's not the pool's only victim. So I'm sure we're gonna have some paranormal activity up in here. Jennifer McMahon is known for throwing in a little bit of paranormal fun into her thrillers. And it looks like we have some chapters that are, we have a time lapse here. We're going back from 2019 and then back to like 1929. It does say in 1929, 37-year-old newlywed Ethel Monroe hopes desperately for a baby. In an effort to distract her, Ethel's husband whisks her away on a trip to Vermont, where a natural spring is showcased by the newest and most modern hotel in the Northeast. Once there, Ethel learns that the water is rumored to grant wishes, never suspecting that the spring takes in equal measure to what it gives. A haunting, twisty, and compulsively readable thrill ride. Oh, and it does say ghost story. A modern day ghost story. So, yeah. And then I also chose 2 male romances to physically read. All these books I do plan on, and I do plan on listening to these on audio. I did listen to both of these on audio. The audios are very good, especially for this one. This one had like a few sound effects in the audio. This one was really good as well. Everdark was not an audio. But anyway, we have, I'd really like to get to What We Broke. This is by Marley Valentine. Marley Valentine is really good at giving those emotional, just not not angst or dark or anything. They're just very, very emotional male-male romances. This story is about a couple that were very, very much in love, and somewhere along the way they lose that, and they are basically just living as roommates in their home. I do think that there is going to be a tragedy in this story, which is what kind of separates our couple, and they are trying to find that love between each other. They do still love each other, but part of them something's missing. I'm not sure what that something is, but I do think it has to do with a death. So just read your trigger warnings before you go into a read like this, being so very emotional. I'm definitely gonna start reading this one this month. I also started reading, I haven't gotten very far in, I just started it like a couple nights ago. This is Lust by Devin McCormick. This is actually this is actually his new release. Was it released in February or March? I don't have it on my March list. It must have released in February. It's definitely a new release. Yes, it was published on February 27th of 2025. Beautiful cover. But I love Devin McCormick's writing. I've read a couple of his books in the past, so I was really excited to see a new book come out from him, from just him alone. He has been writing with Riley Hart, but I was really looking forward to this release. And this is going to be the first book in a series called Saints and Sinners. And I do believe this is a paranormal type of read, or it has some paranormal in the story. And I'm kind of just starting to get that vibe as I'm reading it. I'm only like 10%. I'm reading it on my tablet. I'm only about 10% in, so it's just kind of starting to jump into what kind of paranormal we're looking at. It says Lust is a steamy paranormal romance, but it contains content that some readers may find triggering, including a character grieving the loss of his parents and mentions of a character's loved one who struggles with a chronic illness. So do look at your trigger warnings. And it also says the book also contains depictions of and discussions about bullying. We do sort of have a little bit of that in the beginning of the book, but I mean, it's not heavy. It, to me, is just kind of like a teasing kind of thing right now. I don't know if it's going to get any further than that, but we do have a character named Luke, and then we have Brad that we're following their perspectives in this book. Luke seems to be new to the school. So this seems to be like a college type romance. Luke is a scholarship student at a prestigious school intended for the nation's elite. So in other words, he doesn't have the money for his parents just to like send him there. He had to earn his way to this school. And then we have Brad, who is probably elite in his own little way. So yeah, I haven't really read anything about this book. I just kind of went into it blind just because one, Devin McCormick, two, male-male romance, and three, I was just excited to read a paranormal male-male romance from Devin McCormick. So those are my 8 books that I chose for the month of March. Like I said, 3 I've already read, somewhat read, and just started on another one, but we'll talk more of that in my wrap up. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well out there. Hugs from me and the kitties. Let me know in the comments what y'all be reading in the month of March. And yeah, I'll see y'all very soon in another video. Bye y'all. Do they have something to do with Gabby's husband's death? Oh, Mimi is here. Mimi is in the room. Mimi is, I'm not sure what is happening to Mimi. Mimi, are you okay? Are you okay? You are just causing a ruckus.